For those of you that have on headphones, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, but you're hearing me in Spanish. Thumbs up. Let's go. All right. I will do my best to not speak too fast to make sure our translators can keep up with what we're doing. At any point, this is for both English and Spanish speakers. I know sometimes I get going, I get excited, I get talking really fast. If you're like, hey, my guy, calm down, just let me know, all right? You're going to need something to write with and write on. If you have notes, paper, and a pen, get that out. If you don't have that, get the Notes app in your phone, all right? Because you're going to write something down because you're going to talk to each other, and we're going to get to a part in a second. If you haven't taken a note, it's going to get weird, all right? Because you're going to need something to say to the person at your table. So whatever you need to do that, go ahead and get that out as we get started. And then if you want to turn me down a little, because I kind of yell on my own, and that way we don't blow people away. Not everybody got a burrito, so I don't want you to get crazy today. All right, now in order for us this morning to get going, let me just begin by saying thank you. The only reason I came back is because there was at least one of you last year that was like, hey, we should have that guy come back. So whoever you were out there, I appreciate you. For the rest of us, this morning, we're going to do a little bit of a workshop together. We're going to do a little bit of what I call call and response. So there may be times I'll say something, I'll ask you to repeat it back, and I want you to repeat it back so that we can stay engaged together, all right? So I want you to say, where's my joy? That's a great question. That's a great question. I want you to say, I want my joy. That's right. How many of you would say that there are times in your life, and us being honest with each other, how many of you would say that there are times in your life where it feels like there's something that maybe we don't quite identify or can't identify that feels like steals our joy? Anyone? Anyone ever have a day before where you're like, man, today is not my day? Anybody? Anybody ever? You can be honest. You can say you have a bad, you're not going to get penalized or fired for saying you have a bad day, okay? You're a human. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I woke up this morning, I was ready, I went outside, I saw the rain, and I'm sure at some point there's a plant out there that's like, thank you. But I was like, no, thank you. Right? My day, the rain took my joy. I don't like when it's cloudy. Anybody out here just love the rain? Like you love when it's cloudy and great? Yeah, rest of y'all can go on home, okay? We don't need you here, right? Right? It's so sad. What I want to do today is I want to take us through an exercise because as we mentioned this morning, we talked a lot about joy. We talked about joy being this thing that we can find personally or professionally. Joy is something that is intrinsic inside of us, yet I have found in my experience over the last decade or so, I've talked to tens of thousands of people, and I believe that there is stories that are at play in our life all the time, that if we did a little work to uncover what those stories were, I believe it would give us a huge advantage to being able to find and to lock into what that joy is, even on days that we don't feel like it. See, personally, I don't really think that joy is a feeling. I don't think that joy is an emotion. Now, it's okay if you don't agree with me yet. I'll try to convince you that by the time that we're done. But I don't think that joy is a feeling. Happiness is a feeling. Would we agree? Say yes. Happiness is a feeling. Something happens. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and my 5-year-old daughter, her name is Marlo. Marlo May Garza is her name. We say that she's spicy. Because we used to say that she was crazy, and I realized that's not a good thing to tell your daughter. So instead, we started saying that she was spicy. And let me be clear, she is spicy. If it was up to her, we would all have on glitter eyeshadow every day, okay? But I recognize as a parent how fast, even when I don't mean to, how fast I can take her happiness away from her. How quickly when I say, her name is Marlo, but we call her Mama. When I say, hey, Mama, go put your skates away. She says, okay. She quite can't say her R's right. So she says, you may go with my skates in my womb? Yes. And so she takes her skates off, and she puts them on her hands. And then she hand skates through the living room, to the dining room, under the table, through the kitchen, attacks the dog, through my bedroom, back through the kitchen, right? We're 45 seconds later Can someone tell me why the skates are not in the closet? I thought I was clear. Mama, can you put your skates away? She said yes. She's gone. Now, in that moment, I have a choice. I have a choice to allow the stories that I tell myself to allow me to experience the joy of 45 seconds of watching a sweet little girl go through the house on roller skates chasing a dog. Or I have the choice to very instantly remove her happiness because I chose to let a story that I tell myself about myself rob me of the opportunity for joy. Now, this is probably not you because you're all wonderful parents and you're not like me, okay? So I'm not talking about you, I'm only talking about me. But unfortunately, there are many moments where as soon as she puts the skates on her hands, instead of allowing the stories, which we're going to go through in a minute, to help me understand joy, I rob her of her happiness because I say, Marlo, stop. Put the skates in your room. Okay. And I'm not the biggest guy, but I'm also not small. You know what I'm saying? With my shoes on, I'm 6 feet. Why are you laughing? She's tiny. Why do I feel the need to be so assertive and aggressive with someone who is this tall about skates in a room? I think it's because I believe, like many of us, we have stories going through our brain that try to communicate to us about what is true and about who we are. And we have doubt that creeps in and begins to tell us that we're not good, we're not valuable, we're not worthy, we're to this, we're always this, we're never this. And those stories begin to play out, especially in moments of stress, those stories play out. And when they do, within ourselves and with others, I think it creates opportunities that robs us of our joy. Everyone say, I want my joy. So let's figure out where it is. Sound good? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to uncover these two frameworks together. I believe there's two stories at play in our life at all times. Everybody say story one. It's the stories told to us about us. Stories told to us about us. Okay? The second set of stories are the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. It's the way that we talk to ourselves. Raise your hand if you ever talk to yourself. If your hand is down, you are lying. Raise your hand up. Everybody does, right? Raise your hand, because I'm always curious. Raise your hand if you talk to yourself in English and in Spanish. Raise your hand if your Spanish voice is meaner than your English one. Now, I say that because, one, I know it's true. And two, I say that because I think, stay with me for a second. Everybody look up here real quick. I know we're kind of seated where you are. But I want to use that as a framework, even for those of you that are just only English speakers, okay? The reason I believe your Spanish voice is ruder to you than your English voice is because your Spanish voice was given to you and written by somebody who wasn't you. That's the stories told to us about us. And let me be clear. I'm not making any negative statement about the people in our life, parents, grandparents, family, who helped craft those stories. I love my parents. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love my grandparents. I think they're awesome. And, A-N-D, that may be the most important word we cover today. And my parents got divorced when I was 2. My mom's been married 5 times. I went to 13 schools before I graduated high school, and my mom chose men and jobs over me my whole life. Does that make her a terrible mom? No. My mom is awesome. My mom comes to my house every Wednesday night. She keeps our kids, me and my wife. We go on a date. I see my mom regularly. My mom's great. My mom did everything she could possibly do with everything that she had and everything that she knew. I could not be more grateful for her. And I had to come to a place to realize that the story that was told to me about me the majority of my life was that if I couldn't perform and I couldn't communicate and I couldn't use charisma and I couldn't find a way to prove that you could have a reason to love me, then you were going to leave like everybody else in my life. And I don't blame my mother for that. But I recognize that was a story told to me about me my whole life. You follow me? So step one, we're going to come back to in a second, is stories told to us about us. The second narrative is the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. That's the way that we talk to ourselves. That's the stories you say to yourself. Now, I'm going to get a little woo-woo for a second, okay? I don't know the translation of woo-woo in Spanish, so I apologize to you in the corner. I don't think that we can hear ourselves when we talk to ourselves. Like we hear it, but we don't really hear it, right? Anybody ever left, well, not here, because we don't get mad about work at Uplift, but at other schools I go to, we'll talk about them instead. You ever left work and like been frustrated about something? Anyone? Anybody? It's okay, you can be free. Your boss is not looking. So, whatever it is that we were frustrated about, you ever notice you get in the car and you drive home and you can talk yourself in and out of the same argument all the way till you get home? Yeah. And then whatever you stopped talking when you pulled in the driveway, you were like, you see, I was right. I'm like, you argued both sides. Like, what do you mean you were right? That's because you can't hear yourself. Now, we're going to get a little crazier. It's why many times when you're really mad at yourself, and if you do this, don't raise your hand, because this does, in fact, make you a little weird. Okay, so my guess is most of us, when we're really mad at ourselves, the first thing you do is not go to a mirror to look at yourself and then say out loud to yourself what you say to yourself in your head, because that is creepy, okay? But the reason you don't is because you would not talk to yourself the same way if you could hear it out loud. It's the same reason that you don't talk to your best friend the way that you talk to yourself. Because if you talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself, you would have no friends. Am I wrong? And let me be clear, that's because we're human. I'm not telling you this because there's something inherently wrong or bad about you. It's human nature and who we are. But where do we see these two stories collide to begin to unpack what is doubt, what is a lie, but what is true? So we're going to start here. My fault, I forgot we had slides. Click the slide, go to the next one. Click the next one, doubt's done, we know that. Stay right here. Two things that we need. Everybody say the word space. We're going to do that again because some of you are on Instagram right now. Come back to me. Everybody say space. Everybody say grace. The two things we need to move forward today in our next 50 minutes together. Number one is space. I want to define it for you like this. Space is a momentary pause to assess what is. Some of you today, the greatest gift you can give yourself, I can't give it to you, you have to give it to yourself. The greatest gift you can give yourself today is the next 50 minutes of space to not tell me it's good or bad or right or wrong or positive or negative or why it worked or why it didn't. Just a momentary pause to assess what is. Most of us don't have time in our life, me included, where we have space to just assess what's true because we immediately attach a value to everything. So I'm going to ask for the next 45 minutes, give yourself space. A momentary pause to assess what is. One more time, everybody say space. Secondly, I'm going to ask that you would allow yourself to extend grace. Now I'm going to give you a working definition for that. Nothing wrong with an evangelical one, but I want to give you a different working definition for grace. I define grace as the ability to see myself in someone else. The moment you see yourself in someone else is typically the moment you're willing to forgive them. What prevents us from extending grace is that we lack the ability to see that they are a human like I am. And today, although some of us need to do a little bit of external grace, most of us need to do a little bit of internal grace. Some of you today are going to have an opportunity, just you with you. No one else here is going to know about it. Some of you today, the freedom that you are looking for, the joy that seems to be taken from you, you are stealing from yourself. I'm not telling you that you're wrong or bad or broken. I told you we were in space. It's not good or bad. It just is. The ability to extend grace to ourselves is the ability to see ourselves in ourselves and be reminded that we are too, in fact, human. But in order for us to go through our exercise, we got to have those two things, space and grace. Everybody say space. Say grace. Next slide. Here's where we're going to start. I want you to begin by identifying. I'm going to give you just a couple minutes here. I want you to write something down. Again, you need to write something, note something, because you're going to talk at your table in just a minute, and it's going to be weird if you don't have anything to say, okay? I want you to start here. I want you to identify just one for today. What is one story that's been told to you about you? Now, stories sound like this. You are always this. You are never this. You are so this, S-O. You are to this, T-O-O. Okay? Now, again, we're looking to uncover fear, doubt, obstacle, insecurity. That's where we're going. So if right now you're like, oh, I've been told my whole life that I am too beautiful. So, okay, that's fine. That's not the story we're going for, though, okay? You just keep that one to yourself. You can talk about it with your friends over lunch, all right? I'm interested in are what are the stories that have been told to you about you that potentially are robbing you of joy? For me, they sound like this. Rocky, you're too intense. Rocky, you're too emotional. Rocky, you're not a real man. You cry too much. Let's be honest. Rocky, calm down. Rocky, you're too aggressive. Rocky, why are you yelling? Rocky, you're always asking people so many questions. You follow me? So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes for yourself. And I want you to write down or put in notes in your phone. What is a story that you believe has been told to you about you that follows suit in that same line? You've got 2 minutes. Ready, go. What's a story that's been told to you about you? Don't talk about it yet. Just write it. Just write it. Everybody has one, I promise. You're too nice, you're too kind, you're too mean. You're too loud, you're too much, you're not enough. You're not worthy, you're not valuable. What are the stories that have been told to you about you? You're too loud, you're too quiet. You work too much. You don't work enough. You're too blunt. You're too direct. You're too loud. Write something down. Don't talk about it yet, just write it down. Y'all are ready to do some talking, though. I like it. Again, write one down. Stories told to you about you. All right, come back to me. Come back to me real quick. If you can hear me clap once. If you can hear me clap twice. I always wanted to do that. I don't know, there's no reason for that, I just wanted to do it. All right, so tell me this, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you about 2 minutes at your table. I want you, or in your group, if you're up in the bleachers, this is not a cop-out, all right? So if you're up in the bleachers sitting by yourself and you think no one's gonna talk to you, you are wrong. Find someone, okay? Get a little group, make a little huddle, find 2 or 3 people up there. At your table, just turn it with each other. And I just want everyone to go around at your table, and I just want you to share out loud, just quickly, what's a story that's been told to you about you, okay? Ready? Go. Check 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, I was saying that I have been told all my life that I talk too loud.
Too loud?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking different things at the same time. And her, she said that she's too blunt. And her too.
Yeah. That's why y'all sin together, isn't it? That's good. Okay, good. How are we doing over here?
Doing very good.
Okay, okay. I like how his says too quiet, and then he didn't say it. He said, people say? Raise your hand if you're not done. Anybody not done? All right, come back to me. Oh, you're not done. My bad, my bad. 30 more seconds. I already know what people tell you over there just by the way you're talking. I can't even hear, but she's like, no one, she has her hand up for no reason, just. All right, come back to me real quick. Come back. You'll share next time on the next round. If you can hear me clap once, if you can hear me clap twice, if you can hear me salsa. No, my bad. You're sitting. All right, let's do this. Start here. How did it feel? And think about feeling words. Okay? No, if you say good, I'm kicking you out. Okay? How did it feel to share your answer out loud at your table? Say, just hold on. Maybe raise your hand, and I'll call on you, because when you all say it at the same time, that sounds like this. So, how did it feel to say it out loud? Yes. Uncomfortable. Do I have anybody else can second uncomfortable? Anyone? Okay. What else? How did it feel? Vulnerable. Great. What else? It felt fine? Okay. Emotional? Okay. Free? Free? Real? Weird? Open? Emotional? Anybody else just want to yell out their feelings? Okay. So let me ask you this. Stay with me, stay with me. We're going to go back and forth with you talking to your table and coming back to me and your table and back to me. So when we come back to me, come back to me. Tell me, raise your hand and I'll call on you. I would love to hear from some of you. What are some of the stories that you identify that have been told to you about you? We're about to get, yes.
Not doing enough.
I don't do enough.
Not washing the dishes, not cleaning, not getting the chores done.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it sounds like that comes from one person in her life, so that's not why we're here, though. So, yes. Spanish?
Okay. Yo me identifiqué mucho con eso que usted dijo de que la niña no hace caso, porque yo tenía el mismo problema con los niños. So, es una cosa que a mí me llegó, ¿verdad? Porque es lo mismo que yo también padecí, ¿verdad? Con mis hijos les decía recojan, recojan, no recogían. Pero pues sí me identifiqué mucho y me sentí muy emocionada por el tema, ¿verdad?
Somebody tell me what she said. I got about 50% of that, I didn't get the rest of it.
She was saying she could relate to your story about your kid.
Oh.
About making her pick up her stuff instead of just letting her.
Yes. Love that. Love that. What else? What stories are told to you about you? You already said it once, just say it again. Yes. What are some stories told to you about you? I heard it when I was walking around. I heard a lot of I'm too blunt. Anybody? Anybody has had the story told to you about you? Anybody too loud? Okay. Now, okay, let's do a fun exercise, okay? Watch this. Watch this, all right? Anybody been told your whole life you're too loud? Look at them. They're like, oh, that's me. Now let's go to the other side. Let's go to the other side. How many of you have been told your whole life you're too quiet? Okay. How many of you in your life have been told that you're too much? How many of you feel like you've been told your whole life you're not enough? How many of you have been told you're too nice? How many of you have been told you're too mean? Isn't it interesting that those that are too loud and too much are also too mean? Isn't that weird? Yeah. They're like, yes, we are, and back up, okay? Sir, you don't know me. All right, so. You don't know my life? Okay, easy. All right. So why do we do this part first? Stay with me. Why do we do this part first? We have to be able to identify the stories told to us about us, because oftentimes, stay with me on this part, oftentimes the stories told to us about us are a greater representation of the storyteller than they are the main character of the story. You follow me? So I want you to think about for you, I want you to think about where the story came from. Who is the person telling the story about you? Because almost always, it's a greater representation of the storyteller than it is the main character of the story. And so what happens is very good intentioned people communicate an insufficiency that they have. And although they are trying to protect us, they take their insufficiency and you take it on your back as your insecurity. You know who's never told me I'm too intense? Someone who was also intense. You know a man who's never said that I was too emotional? A man who also openly expressed his emotions. As a matter of fact, the only people that told me I was too emotional were the women in my life that didn't have the capacity to communicate their emotions effectively. And they told me to be careful because someone was going to take advantage of me. And that's how we begin to unravel the stories told to us about us. And the implication they have, full circle back to the beginning, of how those stories have the capacity to rob us of our joy. Because when things get hard, I get loud. And when things need to be fixed, call me. And when the metaphorical hits the fan, you know who they text, don't you? Isn't it interesting, though, when I allow that story to become the main part of my life, how quickly I tell myself, though, that there's nobody for me to call. And so we take stories told to us about us. We're going to kind of put those on pause for a second. We're just going to hold those over here. And now we're going to go to the next slide for me. We're going to go to the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves that match that story. As an example, I've been told my whole life, Rocky, you're too intense. Calm down, my guy. You got that vein right there in your neck. You're already bald. That when that vein comes out, take it down a notch. It's called lack of oxygen. Just breathe. I'm like, don't worry about my vein. I like it. That means I'm getting to something right there. I've been told my whole life, Rocky, you're too intense. So you know what the story I tell myself is? Rocky, you don't know anything about education. Your name is Gilberto Garza Jr. You don't even speak Spanish, my guy. You're coming to an event that they had to get headphones so they could understand you because you can't even talk to your people. What are you doing? You don't belong here. But you don't belong over there. You didn't belong at home. And so I inevitably have the story that I tell myself about myself that matches the one told to me about me. And I'm not saying it's because I wake up every day and go, I'm weak and I'm too much. And that's not how doubt works. Doubt is not aggressive. Doubt is sneaky. Doubt steals your joy, but it waits. It's patient. 8-hour day, 7 hours of a great day. Doubt waits until that last 30 minutes. That last 30 minutes, and then the toilet breaks over in the other building. Doubt says, you don't really know what you're doing, do you? Doubt waits until we have a great month, and on the 28th, the whole world falls apart. Doubt waits to make sure the extra bill you didn't see coming comes right before payday. So as you think about the stories told to you, about you, and now the stories you tell yourself about yourself, I need to deeply encourage you. I'm not telling you you are wrong, bad, or broken, or someone to be fixed. Do not hear that. But if you're unwilling to be honest with yourself, to be real about the story that you're saying to yourself that matches the one told to you, you're doing yourself a disservice by not allowing us the opportunity to extract the lie and replace it with the truth. And I'm not trying to change your story. I'm going to show you in about 9 minutes from now. We're just going to recraft the order that the words are in to remind ourselves that not only is it true, but it's good. Y'all didn't know you was coming to a church. So, I even got my glasses back on. Y'all got me too worked up here. Let me get myself together. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. And what I want you to do is I want you to take a little bit of time. Listen this time, though. Please follow the directions. Don't start talking to each other like y'all did last time. On this part, write down the stories you tell yourself about yourself that match the ones told to you about you, but don't talk about it yet unless you're helping each other understand what you're doing, then you can do that. At your table, make a note, what stories do you tell yourself about yourself that match the ones told to you about you? And again, this is not, I hope my story told to me about me is I am amazing, so the story I tell myself is I am also amazing. Okay, that's not what we're doing. Doubt doesn't live there, okay? We got to go to where the doubt is. You got 2 minutes. Stories you tell yourself about yourself that match the other one. Ready, go. Just make a note. You're going to talk about it at your table in just a minute, so don't talk about it yet. Again, story you tell yourself about yourself. Just think about it. This is the way you talk to yourself. And once you have one story written down, raise your hand. I saw you, you're good. What's a story you tell yourself about yourself? All right, come back to me real fast. I know some of you already started. Now at your table, I want you to go around really quickly. You got 2 minutes. and share what is a story that you tell yourself about yourself. Say it out loud at your table. Okay, look at me real quick. Come back to me real fast. Pause. It is really, really important for me that you are willing to share and say it vocally with your mouth at your table, because something physiological, okay? Meaning an entire body experience. Something physiological happens when you think something, and then you write something, and you say it out loud. Your body gets to experience it for the first time, right? The next time you're really mad, go write it down. And it'll get you further than where you are right now. Okay. And then after you write it down, go find a mirror and say it out loud. One last example, and I'm going to let you talk. Every time that I am frustrated with my children, let me be really honest with you. Every time that I am frustrated with anyone in my life that I really love, my 5-year-old, my 8-year-old, and my wife, can I tell you how quickly my emotions come down when I am frustrated with my wife, when I force myself to be in the same room as her when I am frustrated, and I am the one who initiates to hold her hand. And I'm not talking about this is not about me telling you how romantic I am. I am telling you how difficult it is when I am pissed. But do you know how hard it is for me? I semi-know this gentleman here, so we're going to use him as an example. You don't mind? Stand up real fast. Okay? We're going to pretend he's my wife, all right? You can stay there, wife. Stay there, okay? Because we're mad at each other, right? Now, here's what happens. She's over there, I'm over here, and we're talking to each other, and we're frustrated, right? I just don't remember what you said to me. I forgot. I'm sorry. I'll do it. And here's what happens every time. I'm about to say the next part I'm going to let her know that I'm so mad. But I don't say like this. Here's what I do every time. And you're guilty of it too. And if you're not, you're lying. We get to right here and we're going to say that last thing. And we do this. I don't know what else you want me to do. And we talk to the carpet over here, even though the human being's over there. Now I'm going to show you the difference. And I'm telling you, this is something I have to actively practice in my home. You need to practice with yourself. You need to practice at home. You need to practice with your colleagues. Don't touch them without asking, though. That's too weird, okay? Can I tell you how much difference it is when I'm in this moment right here and I'm going to let her know that I'm doing the best I can. What else do you want from me? But if I go, I am doing the best that I can. And I love you. Okay, give me a applause, man. Yeah. That was free. Now you have that when you go home, okay? So that was free. That's just a bonus content for you. How much harder is it to yell, to be mad, to be frustrated when we close proximity and we force ourselves to be face to face? I'll keep it professional, won't cuss. It's really hard to talk about someone when you're staring them in the eye and your hand is on their hand. But it's easy for you to do when you walk away and go into the bathroom and you can't see them with the door closed under your breath and say everything you think you want to say. Now, I use the example of my wife because it's easy for us all to relate to. Rarely, though, does my wife steal my joy. Rarely, I want to encourage you, does your wife, your husband, or your partner steal your joy. You steal your joy. Because we, me included, are unwilling to face ourselves and change the story we say to ourselves about ourselves, and instead we make ourselves out to be the one who says it's everybody else's fault and you can't get me, so I again am going to go hide. Not always, that would be ridiculous, but at least as a framework for us to see. So I'm going to quickly go around at your table and share what's a story you tell yourself about yourself. Ready, go. Oh,
You don't want her.
thank you so much. You read my mind. Check 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. All right, come back to me. If you can hear me clap once, if you can hear me clap twice, if you can hear me clap 3 times. All right. So, how did it feel to share that stories that you tell yourself about yourself? How did it feel to share that at your table? And raise your hand before you say it so I can call on you. Yes. Weird. Yes. Rejuvenating. Okay. What else? Empowered. Love that. What else? Say it again. Frustrating. What else? Emotional for sure. That you were understood. Love that. Love that. Anybody else? In control. Liberated. Vulnerable. Love that. Yes. Good. Vulnerable. You can say it again. So we have stories told to us about us. We have the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. I have found in my experience over the last 10 years or so that wherever these two stories intersect, another way to say it is whenever these two stories collide, they slam into each other, it creates an impact. Typically, the impact of these two stories in our life is a lowercase t truth, a small truth. That doesn't mean that it's real, it just means that we believe it. Rocky, you're too intense. Rocky says, look at their faces, calm down. Well, the truth that is formed is, you're too much. That doesn't mean that it's real, it just means that I believe it. Oftentimes, the small truth, the lowercase t truth, inevitably becomes fear, doubt, obstacle, insecurity, because we feel the need to not be something in hopes that everybody else needs us to be something. Those of us that are too direct and too loud, we have either overcompensated, and so when we really want to talk, we don't, or we have not compensated at all, and we've just said to everyone, and I'm going to do me whether you like it or not. But we don't do it in a way always that is inviting for others around us. We do it in a way to protect ourselves. And for many of us, that was a necessity. Let me be very clear. I'll be 41 years old this year. I am very new into allowing people into my life to have genuine relationships that I don't think are going to get me. Because my whole life I felt like everybody was out to get me. I am not up here talking to you about stories and doubt as somebody who has none and is always confident. That would be foolish. But I do believe there is a framework we can use to unpack the fear, to unpack the doubt, to unpack the lie that allows us to get to joy faster. And so one last exercise for you. We aren't going to talk about it at your table. I just want you to think about it just for the sake of time. I want to get us back on schedule here. I want you to ask yourself this question. Based on these two stories and where they collide, what is a potential lie that you believe about yourself sometimes? What is a potential lie you believe about yourself? Especially when we have stories that start with T-O-O. I'm to this. Those stories tend to be the one that actually may be your greatest strength if we could take it back and make it a truth, as opposed to believing that it's a lie. So just quickly in your head, really fast. Everybody has one. We're all human beings. What is a lie that you potentially believe about yourself sometimes? Put it in your head really quick. Oftentimes, by the way, that lie sounds very similar to the stories told to you about you, by the way, if you're looking for some low-hanging fruit there. The lies that I've told me over the course of my life, the lies I tell myself are, Rocky, you're too emotional. That's not true. But there's times that I believe it to be true. Rocky, you're too much. You're going to a professional event. Why do you look like you're about to do deadlift? Why do you have that outfit on? That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Right? And all the things that run, hey, it's not going to work, Rocky. They're not going to like it. They're not going to believe you. Who do you think you are? You want 75 minutes to be on stage. Interesting. The regular 45 doesn't work for you? Okay, sorry. And all the things that go through my head. So quickly, especially if you're a note taker, just write down really quickly, what is that lie? And then here's what I want us to be able to do with that lie. I want us to be able to find a way that we can turn that lie into a truth. How can you turn that lie into a truth? Rocky, you're too intense. The lie is, Rocky, you're too intense and it's not going to work. So I want to reframe it. Look at me real fast. I want to reframe the lie into a truth. Rocky, you are intense, comma, and you are good. You follow me? I want you to think about your story really quick. How many of you raise your hand if you've been told your whole life you're too nice? Anybody? Raise your hand. It's okay for you to do that, right? Although they're like, well, kind of, but like I'm not really. You should have started. Let's start with this one to give you guys an example. Raise your hand your whole life if you've been told you're too loud. Thank you. They were much easier hands. I don't think that necessarily is true. I think that most people who have been told their whole life are too loud have had an experience where they've had to fight to have their voice heard. And they refuse to be somebody who is silenced any longer, and therefore, in every environment, they make sure that what it is they want to say is heard because they believe they deserve a seat at the table. You follow me? Comma, and they are good. And so it's really, really key that at the end of our truth statement, that we put the comma and I am good. Because without that at the end, it is not an affirmation, it is only a confirmation. And the only confirmations I'm looking for are to confirm that I have a flight someplace. I'm not looking for confirmations about who I am. I'm looking for affirmations about who I am. I want to know that it is both true and good. I think as we explore looking at where is our joy, how do we find our joy? In the moments where it is jeopardized, where do we go back to get our joy? When we have the stories playing through our head, it's the 27th of the month, we're tired, it's Thursday, we still have another day left, our family is this, our kids are this. I, for the first time in my life, and some of you that are older than me are just going to chuckle at me, which is fine, I'll take it, okay? I feel like for the first time in my life, I am understanding the phrase midlife crisis. Because I now am the person who has just become central in the hub of my family, both immediate and extended, and everyone around me needs me. My kids need me and my wife needs me. My mom needs me and my grandma needs me. My dad needs me and my cousins need me. And all of a sudden, I'm staying in the middle, and every decision I make has a direct implication on 55 other people immediately. And I understand now why some people in a midlife crisis go buy something ridiculous. Because it just is like the singular thing that feels like I can control. Life may be crazy, but I'm going to buy me a 1972 Honda. You know, it's a terrible idea, my guy. Don't do that. So in those moments for us, what is the truth that we have to come back to? So I want you to write down for yourself, I want you to write down the affirmation of what is true. Go back to the story really quickly that you told yourself about, that was told to you about you. As an example, somebody share with me, what's a story told to you about you? What's a lie that you believe? Be willing to say it out loud. Yes.
That I'm loud.
That you're loud.
But I am.
That is true.
With my family.
Yes.
Because I have to be heard.
That's correct.
Put my foot down.
Yes. Sometimes both feet. Yeah, her feet are small, so she uses 2 of them to make sure that everybody, right? So, tell me your first name.
They say I stop a lot. I'm sorry.
Tell me your name.
Bertha.
Bertha? Right. So she either has a narrative that goes to her head that says, you're too loud, you're too much, calm down, take it easy. Jeez Louise, Mom, golly, it's just not that big a deal. Bertha, hey, back up, okay? Or she looks in the mirror and says, I choose to make sure that my voice is heard, that my opinion matters, and I have been tasked with leading my family, and I am good. And that's a dynamically different statement than, Bertha, you're so loud. Because one of those we speak this way, and one of those we speak this way. And if there's nothing else, whether the story is the lie, the doubt for you, you're like, man, that's a big matrix and that doesn't make sense to me. Let me leave you with this. The words that you say matter. And the words that you say to yourself really matter. And how you speak to yourself really matters. Rocky, you're so intense. Rocky, you are intense, and it is good. You're so loud. You want your voice to be heard, and it is good. Now, is there a responsibility that comes with owning our story? Yes. I'm not telling you to walk around, you're like, hey, I went to this workshop and Rocky said I'm loud, so the rest of you, back up. Okay, that's not what I said. Okay, I did not say that, comma, and it is good. Okay, don't write that down. My guy over here, tell me your first name. Antonio, we share the same stylist. Antonio wrote down on his earlier that one of the thing told to him about him, he says that I'm too quiet. Is that true, Antonio? Are you quiet, Antonio? Yeah. I don't even know if Antonio's with us right now. He's Why are you quiet? Shh, so you can listen. I agree. I think that's a very, very honest answer. I think out here is perceived that you are quiet. I do not believe that it's quiet inside here. Is that true? And I think you have a lot happening in here. And I think you think a lot of things. And I think there's a moment most days where you're just about to be right on the edge of saying exactly what you believe that you want to say, and something clicks inside and says, be quiet. It doesn't matter. They don't want to hear it. You follow me? And so when we say, I'm too quiet, when we get to the edge, we do this. But when we say, I am quiet because I am listening to understand before I simply speak to be heard. And it is good. This is what I want to say. You follow me? The narrative that's driving, I'm quiet, I'm quiet, I'm quiet, I'm quiet, and then everybody knows I'm quiet, and when I say I'm quiet, and everybody nods like, yeah, he really is quiet, and then it doubles down the fact that you're quiet, and you're like, I guess that means nobody wants to hear from me, and then I have these ideas, but nobody wants to know that I really apologize to the translator. You don't have to translate this part. You are quiet. But let's just change the language. No, you're just listening. You are observing. You're highly observant, highly analytical, and you could tell most of us more about what's going on and what I've said than anybody else can, even though you've spoken less, because you're paying attention to everything. But I can't get to where we need to go if you don't help me get there. Your observation is what keeps the rest of us alive. People like me who are just jogging because we think we can miss the fact that there's no bridge. You already knew there wasn't a bridge, but if you don't speak up and say, guys, look out for the no bridge, I die. Little dramatic. But I need for you and everybody else to recognize that who you are and the truth about you and the story that is not just true but is also good is not about preventing others from dying. It is about daily providing the opportunity to breathe life into every person you come across. You follow me? You saw every person in that video. I love seeing the scholars. I love serving them food. I love asking them questions. I love them asking me questions. There's my guy right there. I don't know what his name is. He's back in the back. He's got an incredible mustache back there. He's got a nice flat top. He talked in both Spanish and English. I don't know what his name is. But as soon as I saw him in the video, who he is brings life. Because there's a story that he believes about him and a reason for him to show up every day. You follow me? So I want to end like this. Everybody here has a truth. Something good, true, and beautiful about who you are. That singular aspect about you breathes life into every other person you come across. Your words have the capacity to both bring life and bring death, to bring joy and to bring pain, especially the words you speak to yourself. Because if what's going on up here doesn't bring joy, there is very little capacity for what comes out of here to bring life to somebody else. You all have been tasked with the opportunity in every one of your positions to be the foundation, the inner working, the glue that holds uplift together. So why not let joy be the number one ingredient that we mix in knowing that everything that we do as an organization starts in this room with the stories that we say, the words that we use, and the belief, not just as an organization, but as individuals, that we can collectively say together that we are good. Follow me? Give yourself a round of applause. Hit this last slide for me. Keep going, keep going, keep going. One more. Right there. A doubt-filled life is one where energy is spent convincing other people or ourselves of who we are. Yet a life lived in truth is one where energy is spent living in the freedom and goodness of who we are. Let us live in deep confidence, not in a consistent place where we feel the need to convince. Who you are is good. It's not just true, but it's good. I would love to be able to stay connected with you. On the next slide, we'll leave it up here when we wrap up, is a simple QR code. Go one more for me. I send a text message every day. There's many of you on here from last year who are already on it and you still get it, and it brings me a lot of joy when I see your name. But I send a text message every day free to you, to challenge you, encourage you, motivate you, sometimes push you a little bit to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So if you would like that, I would love to be able to do that for you. No obligation. I'm not selling you anything. I literally just send you a text message. It does come from me, and I would love to talk to you. I greatly appreciate you giving the chance to come back. Thank you so much, and be reminded that you are good. I appreciate you.